Right, good evening, councillors and officers and any members of the public who are looking in. Welcome to this meeting of the Finance Strategy and Management Committee. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
Yeah, there's apologies from Councillor David Eggleton. He asked me to give his apologies and he's now sitting as an independent.
Ho, ho, ho.
And we also have apologies from Councillor Miller, and Councillor Crook is substituting this evening.
Okay, Councillor Crook. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? I don't see. Oh, Councillor Plum.
I don't have a declaration of interest, but I'm not sure if it's just my computer or you're incredibly quiet tonight.
Oh,
Yeah, it does sound a bit quiet at my end.
I can try and do something about that through Zoom. They do occasionally fight each other, my different sound settings.
And on that point, I don't know if I need to declare it because obviously Physiolistic is in my domain of work, but I have no pecuniary interest and I wish them only good. So just, yeah.
If you wish, you can declare it as a personal interest, but I think you've done enough. Let me just check my audio a little bit.
You are very quiet, Councillor Reisman.
See if I can.
We'll all need to sit closer like this and see if it helps.
If you go into settings and audio, you may already know this. Sorry if you do.
Is that any better?
Yes. Oh, that's much better. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So Zoom had just gone a bit down. Okay. Right. So I'm pleased you can all hear me clearly. You may be less impressed. Public participation. Do we have any members of the public who've asked to participate?
No, we don't.
Okay. That's that. Then item 4, minutes. To approve the minutes of the meeting from the 8th of December.
Are
you proposing those?
Yeah.
Seconded, Councillor Arlott. Any comments? All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Item number 5, finances. To receive investment performance, dashboard papers, management accounts, summary of SIL expenditure, bank reconciliations, and summary of payments. And they start on page 9 of their agenda. And I'd like to thank the accountant for producing yet another small but helpful improvement in the way the figures are presented. So not only can we see the variances throughout the financial year, we can also see what's changed since the last meeting, which given the times we live in, I think it is helpful. As you can see, we have a list of items, of variances which are COVID related, which add up to 150,000 in negative variances, and that's the one of the main challenges of these times. Are there any other comments of people to make, or can we receive these en bloc? Councillor Hamilton.
I'll just make a point here. We've obviously had 2 drawdowns in the last period, as it were. I think drawdowns should come to this committee for discussion. Obviously, we don't want the council to go overdrawn in any way. I'm not suggesting that at all. But I think it'd be right that they come to the whole of the finance committee. The whole of the finance committee is accountable for those drawdowns. And it may be that in drawdowns to come, that consider borrowing money rather than drawing down money, given the advantageous rates that the town clerk can sometimes get. So I just wanted to make that point. And I know that you've got an email from Liz to give me a different answer, but I think it should come to this committee.
I did raise this with the town clerk and the accountant, and I'll let them answer. Town clerk, would you like to reply?
As we have Liz here, and it's her domain, I'd be very happy for her to answer it, but I'm also happy to as well.
Very well.
You do it. You go ahead. You can say it better.
Okay, something. With the drawdowns are basically for cash flow. rather than so there's no expenditure in that way. The important thing to note is we can't really take out any loans. The reason being is the routes that we would usually go down, public works loan board and so on and so forth, they won't give loans if you have significant reserves, and this council is fortunate enough to have very significant reserves. Much as we would like to take a very low interest loan so we can keep accruing the interest on the investments, unfortunately that's just not necessary. So because the drawdowns are just for a cash flow purpose and it's a mere transfer between rather than any expenditure, that's why it doesn't need to go through the committee.
But they do appear on this agenda, informing us that the drawdowns have taken place, which is the correct thing to do. Are there any other questions, Councillor Gabishak?
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment on that. I mean, we set the policy within certain parameters, and the officers carry them out. And I see no difference, no need to vary this at all. So the answer is no, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, it's a reasonable question to ask.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable question to put to you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I agree. The question was a reasonable one, and I asked something similar last week when the agenda was being drawn up. So
can I suggest that in future, if it is possible to come through this committee, then perhaps.
I don't think it would be either necessary or desirable for I think the reasons that the town clerk explained to come to the committee before it happened. Can I just? Someone is typing, and can I ask them to go into mute?
Yeah, Sheridan. Furiously killing the keypad.
Well, I've already had to wrestle with Zoom silencing me. Now I've got a town clerk silencing me.
He's just updating the minutes that he's already written.
You're not joking. So the question's been raised. I think the current arrangements in which the transfers are made, which are simply transfers of money, not expenditure or decisions to spend. I think it's sensible for us simply to be informed of those rather than ask in advance. Okay, are there any more questions on the financial papers? If not, can I have a proposal that we receive them all? Councillor Gabishak, seconded by Councillor Romans. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Expenditure. So we have two items of expenditure to approve. Firstly, little a, the columbarium, 2,500 of additional fees from revenue to capital expenditure. I propose that we go ahead with this. Is there any further explanation needed from either the accountant or the town clerk on this proposal?
Shall I just mention that it's just really because the project has gone on a little and been a little more complicated with the extra, works on the roof and the rendering inside. These are extra fees that the contract administrator, West Waddy, are charging. So it's not actually from Universal Stone, the contractor. This is the administrator that's charging extra, and he has gone above and beyond the call of duty actually on all these extra works, and it is reasonable for the amount of time, that extra time he spent. So I don't think we can argue with this.
Okay, can I have a seconder for that proposal then, please? Councillor Gabishak. Okay, any more comments? Okay, all those in favour? Okay, thank you. And making CCTV. This has come from R&A. Can I ask the chair of R&A just briefly to give us the background on this proposal?
Yeah, sure. Recreation and Amenities Committee last week, we discussed the increased usage of Makins due to the improvements we've made there over recent years, and the impact that this has had on our current tenants, who are the charity Headway. And it was felt that CCTV would be a useful deterrent. This is £1,500, and it shouldn't be confused with the wider CCTV project that was discussed for both Threemans and Makins, which was a much more significant amount. If we actually decided to drop that wider project, and this is just for Brunner Hall, £1,500, and not the wider amount, the larger amount for the wider project.
So this is a one-off capital payment.
Am I phrasing
that we're authorising? Would you like to propose that, Councillor Hinson?
Yes, I'd like to propose that we go ahead with that expenditure.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Plant. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favour? Okay. Henley Rugby Club planning application. So this is a planning application which comes to this committee because a condition of the lease is that planning application can only be made by our tenants according to the lease with our consent. So to be clear, what we're doing here is giving our tenants permission to submit an application. We're not considering the application itself as a planning consultee. So just let me make that clear. Councillor Plant, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, amazed how detailed the application was. You know, it's phenomenal. They've gone into just about every aspect you'd even want to read about. I even know what percentage of the route area is going to be encroached on for 2 trees. Like
16%.
Who would have thought? Yeah, only like 3% for one of them or something like that. But yeah. No, I see no reason other than to approve it. I did kind of reach out to Sheridan earlier, and he was very prompt to reply. My only query was that, you know, as the site is developed, do we share any increase in the rental yield from it? But I guess that's part of our already agreed contract with Henley Rugby Club, but maybe something to consider when we review said contract in a decade's time or whenever it is.
So you're proposing that we give permission?
Yes.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Gavishak, are you seconding?
No.
Okay.
I'll second.
Councillor Alex seconding this. Okay, did you want to speak, Councillor Gavishak?
Yeah, it was really just a question that there are no electric charging points down at the rugby club at the moment, and I was wondering whether I'm not wanting a condition on this, but I wonder if the town clerk, when discussing this planning application, and presumably when we give approval, that it could be part of the application that in fact the Physiolistic building has an electric charging point for customers to use, and also maybe their staff to use as well. So it was only just a small comment, that was all. Thank you.
That seems a reasonable suggestion, and I suspect that that's best pursued through our role as the planning. We're commenting on the application, I think, by doing that. So I think if the planning committee wish to make such an approach to Physiolistic and suggest that would be the best way forward. Councillor Gavishak.
I'll wait for Sheridan to speak, and then I'll just come back for 2 seconds on that.
Sheridan.
I think what Councillor Gavishak would probably say is that this would be a negotiation that we would have as a landlord rather than as a planning consultee in that way. The only point I would make on it is that part of the car park, because it's purely for the Henley Rugby Club and Physiolistic, it is barriered off and so not available to the public. Ideally, the electric vehicle charging points we would be putting in would be on the public side of the car park, so they'd be free and available for members of the public to use. However, that's not saying that an electric vehicle charging point for the use of the rugby club or physiolistic customers wouldn't also be a good idea, and certainly something that we'll be discussing with them along with the electric vehicle charging points.
Yes, it was. Sorry, through you, Chair. That was precisely the point. It was actually to to encourage the rugby club by way of a conversation to actually get some electric charging points on the site. The location, I'll leave it to them. But we as the landlord should actually raise this, as this is a change to the lease, a positive change. I mean, physiolistic, well, Lawrence Closure is physiolistic are doing well. That's why they're expanding. And Lawrence is continuing to do well as well. So I'll balance the comment. But it's an opportunity for us to actually say, if you are developing the site, because the business is successful and the model works, what about incorporating some greener features into the site? In other words, a charging point. Thank you.
Councillor Platt, do you want to comment? You had your hand up.
I was only going to raise one point, that most sessions at clinics like ours and theirs are only 30 minutes long anyway. So just whether it would serve much use was my only point. I completely agree with the green credentials, but as businesses, they're such short stay, as it were.
Can I suggest that assuming that it doesn't look rather as though this we're going to give permission, that we write, when we write back giving our consent, that we mentioned this discussion on the on whether or not they can look at increasing the availability of charging points.
Yep. On the full site, yes.
Across the site, yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Councillor Platt, did you want to say anything more as to sum up, or shall we move?
No, I think straightforward. Yeah.
Okay. All those in favour of the proposal? Okay, thank you. Exclusion of the public and press. That was quick. So I now propose that the public and press are excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, as publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business. I so move. Have a seconder? Yeah, Councillor Arlott. Okay, all those in favour? Right, thank you to those